Now listen here, Mr. Kemper. I tell you for the 100th time you will never marry my niece.
And I tell you for the 1000th time that I will marry your niece, and right soon, too.
Never! Boys! Boys! Go practice under someone else's window!
Your niece is of age, Mr. Vandergelder. Your niece has consented to marry me. This is a free country, Mr. Vandergelder, not a private kingdom of your own.
There are no free countries for fools, Mr. Kemper. I thank you for the honor of your visit. Good morning.
Mr. Vandergelder, would you please sit still a minute? If I cut your throat, it would be practically unintentional.
Ermengarde is not for you, nor anyone else who can't support her.
I tell you, I can support her. I make a very good living.
No, sir, Mr. Kemper. A living is made by producing something that everyone needs at least once a year.
Yes, but...
Yes, sir, and a million is made by producing something that everyone needs every day. You artists produce something that nobody needs at any time.
That's not true.
You may sell a picture every once in a while, but you'll make no living. Joe, go over there and stamp 3 times. I want to talk to Cornelius.
Not only can I support her now, but I have considerable expectations.
Expectations? We merchants don't do business with them, and I don't keep accounts with people who promise somehow to pay something someday, and I certainly don't allow such people to marry my niece. No, Mr. Kemper, you go back to your studio, and when you finish painting your sunset on the Hudson, why don't you try hope feeding a family or love melting a snowbank? There's a subject for you.
Very well. From now on, you might as well know that in regard any way we can find to get married is right and fair. Ermengarde is of age, and there is no law...
Law? Let me tell you something, Mr. Kemper. Most of the people in the world are fools. The law is there to prevent crime, and we men of sense are there to prevent foolishness. It is I, not the law, that will prevent you from marrying Ermengarde. And I've taken some steps already. Well, I've sent her away.
You sent her away?
Yes, to get this nonsense out of her head.
Ermengarde's not here?
Oh, you can find her at Peekskill, or Albany, or try Syracuse, or Utica. I thank you for the honor of your visit.
Everything's ready, Mr. Vandergelder. I just finished packing the trunk. Ermengarde's been helping me.
Hold your tongue.
Yes, Mr. Vandergelder, the trunk's all marked. Care, Miss Van Heusen, 8 Jackson Street, New York.
Hell and damnation, didn't I tell you it was a secret?
Care Miss Van Heusen, 8 Jackson Street, New York. Thank you very much. Good morning, Mr. Vandergelder.
It won't help you, Mr. Kemper. Death, at least you could do me the favor of being dumb.
Such a temper. Lord save us.
Yes, Mr. Vandergelder. Go in and get my niece's trunk and carry it over to the station. Yes, Mr. Vandergelder. Wait! Gertrude, has Mrs. Levi arrived yet?
Don't shout! I can hear perfectly well. Certainly. The labels for the luggage are ready.
Have the buggy brought around the store in half an hour.
Yes, Mr. Vandergelder.
This morning I'm leading my lodge parade down to the Spite in Dieville, and this afternoon I'm going to New York. Before I go, I want to talk to you and Barnaby. Well, good news. Fact is, I'm going to promote you. How old are you?
33, Mr. Vandergelder.
What?
33.
That's all? Well, that's a foolish age to be at. I thought you were 40.
No, I'm 33.
Well, man's not worth a cent until he's 40. Isn't that right, Joe?
You almost lost an ear on it, Mr. Vandergelder.
I was thinking of promoting you to chief clerk.
What am I now?
You're an impertinent fool, that's what you are. Now, if you behave yourself, I'll promote you from impertinent fool to chief clerk, with a raise in your wages. And maybe Barnaby will be promoted from idiot apprentice to incompetent clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Vandergelder.
However, I want to talk to you both before I go. Now go on and get my niece's trunk.
Yes, Mr. Vandergelder.
Joe, the world's getting crazier every minute. Like my father always used to say, the horse will be taking over the world soon. Ugh. Ooh, fine.
I did what I could, Mr. Vandergelder, what with you flying in and out of the chair.
Fine, Joe. You did a fine job. Well, the same fine job you've been doing for me for 20 years. Joe, I've got special reasons for looking my best today. Well, is there anything a little extra you can do? Anything a little special? Well, I'll pay you right up 50 cents. See what I mean? Touch me up a bit. Smart me up a bit.
All I know is 15 cents worth like usual, Mr. Vandergelder, and that includes everything that's decent to do to a man.
Well, now hold your horses, Joe. All I meant was...
I've shaved you for 20 years, and you never asked me no such questions before, and I don't intend...
Hold your horses, I say, Joe. I'm going to tell you a secret, but I don't want you telling it to the riffraff down at the barbershop. What I'm going to tell you now. All I ask of you is a little something extra, because I'm planning on getting married again, and this afternoon I'm going to New York to call on my intended, a very refined lady.
Your getting married is none of my business, Mr. Vandergelder. I've done everything to you I know, and the charge is 15 cents like it always was. And I don't dye no hair, not even for 50 cents I don't.
Joe Scanlon, get out!
And lastly, it looks to me you're pretty rash to judge which is fools and which isn't fools, Mr. Vandergelder. People that's at onions is bad judges of who at onions and who ain't. Good morning, ladies. Good morning, Mr. Vandergelder.
The world's going crazy. The asylums can't hold them all. They're flooding the country. Well, what do you want?
You wanted to talk to us, Uncle.
Oh, yes. Gertrude, go in and get my parade regalia. The uniform for my lodge parade.
What? Oh, yes. Lord have mercy.
Ermengarde, I had a talk with that artist of yours.
You did?
Yes, I did. He's a fool. Weeping, weeping. Why don't you go down and weep for a while in New York where it won't be noticed? Ermengarde. I told him that when you were old enough, you'd marry someone who could support you. I've done you a good turn. You'll thank me when you're 50.
But Uncle, I love him.
And I tell you, you don't.
Oh, but I do!
And I tell you, you don't. Leave those things to me.
But Uncle, if I don't marry Ambrose, I know I'll die.
What of?
Broken heart.
Never heard of it. Mrs. Levi is coming in a moment to take you to New York, where they'll stay 2 or 3 weeks with Miss Van Heusen, an old friend of your mother's. You're not to receive any letters except from me. I'm coming to New York myself this afternoon, and I'll call on you tomorrow. Who are you?
Malachi Stack, Your Honor. I heard you were looking for an apprentice in the hay, feed, provision, and hardware business.
An apprentice at your age?
Yes, Your Honor. I bring a lot of experience to it.
Do you have any letters of recommendation?
Yes, indeed, Your Honor. First class recommendation.
Ermengarde, are you ready to start?
Yes.
We'll go and get ready some more. Ermengarde, let me know the minute Mrs. Levi gets here.
Yes, Uncle Horace.
I don't want an able seaman, nor a typesetter, and I don't want a hospital cook.
No, sir. But it's all experience. Excuse me. This one is from your former partner, Joshua Van Tool in Albany.
Oh, Van Tool. For the most part, honest and reliable. Occasionally willing and diligent. There seems to be a certain amount of hesitation in these recommendations.
Businessmen aren't writers, Your Honor. There's only one businessman in 1,000 that can write a good letter of recommendation. Mr. Van Tool sends his best wishes and wants to know if you can use me in the provision and hardware business.
Not so fast, not so fast. Tell me, why did you come to Yonkers?
I heard you had an apprentice that was good for nothing, and you were at wit's end for another.
Wit's End? Wit's End? There's no dearth of good-for-nothing apprentices.
That's right, sir. It's employers there's a dearth of. Seems you hear of a new one dying every day.
What's that? Hold your tongue. Well, I see you've been a barber and a valet, too. So why have you changed your place so often?
Change my place, Mr. Vandergelder. When a man's interested in experience...
Do you drink?
No, thanks. I've just had breakfast.
I didn't ask you whether... Idiot! I asked you if you were a drunkard.
No, sir, no. Why, looking at it from all sides, I don't even like liquor.
Well, if you keep looking at it from all sides, out you go. Remember that. Here, with all your faults, I'm going to give you a try.
You'll never regret it, sir. You'll never regret it.
Now, today I want to use you in New York. I trust you know your way around New York.
Do I know New York? I know every hole and corner in New
Oh,
York.
here's $1.
Thanks.
The train leaves in a minute. Take that bag to Central Hotel on Water Street. Have them save me a room. Wait for me there. I'll be there about 4 o'clock.
Yes, sir. Oh, but first I'd like to meet the other clerks I'm to work with.
You haven't time. The station's across the street. Hurry now.
Yes, sir. You'll see, sir. You'll never regret it.
I regret it already. 99% of people in the world are fools, while the rest of us are in great danger of contagion. But I wasn't always as free of foolishness as I am now. Once, I was young, which was foolish. I fell in love, which was foolish. I got married, which was foolish. And for a while, I was poor, which was more foolish than all the other things put together. Since, you see, I'm a man of sense, I guess you were surprised to hear that I'm planning to get married again. Well, I have 2 reasons for it. In the first place, I like my house run with comfort, order, and economy. But that's a woman's work. And even a woman can't do it well if she's merely being paid for it. In order to run a house well, a woman must have the feeling she owns it. Marriage is a bribe to make a housekeeper think she's a householder. Did you ever watch an ant carry a burden twice its size? What excitement, what patience, what will! That's what I think of when I see a woman running a house. What giant passions in those little bodies! What quarrels with the butcher for the best cut! What fury at discovering a moth in the cupboard! Believe me, if women could harness their natures towards something bigger than a house and a baby carriage, why, they'd change the world. Well, and the second reason, ladies and gentlemen, well, I see by your faces, you've guessed it already. There's nothing like mixing with the women to bring out the foolishness in a man of sense. Well, that's a risk I'm willing to take. I've just laid side by side the last dollar of my first $500,000. So if I should lose my head a little, I should have enough money to buy it back. After many years' caution and hard work, I have the right to a little risk and adventure, and I'm thinking of getting married. Oh yes, like all you other fools out there, I'm willing to risk a little security for a certain amount of adventure. So think it over.
Get your hat.
My hat?
Quick, your trunk is at the station now. Quick, we're running away.
Running away! Where?
To New York to get married.
Ambrose! I can't do that.
Why?
Ambrose, dear, it wouldn't be proper.
Listen, I'm taking you to a friend's house. His wife will take care of you.
Ambrose, a girl can't get on a train with a man. I can see you know nothing about girls.
But I'm telling you, we're gonna get married.
Married? Oh, what would Uncle say?
We don't care. We don't care what Uncle would say. We're eloping.
Ambrose Kemper! How can you say such an awful word?
Ermengarde, you have the soul of a field mouse.
Ambrose! Why would you say such cruel things to me?
For the last time, I beg you, get your hat and coat. The train leaves in a few minutes.
Good morning, darling girl. How are you?
Mrs. Levi, good morning.
And who is this young gentleman who is so devoted to you?
This is Mr. Kemper, Mrs. Levi. Mrs. Levi, Miss Ambrose, this is
Mrs. Levi, born Gallagher. Very happy to meet you, Mr. Kemper. Mr. Kemper, the artist, delighted. Mr. Kemper, may I say something very frankly?
Yes, Mrs. Levi?
This thing you are planning to do is a very great mistake.
Mrs. Levi, please tell Ambrose, of course, I want to marry him, but to elope,
Oh, now, my dear girl, you go in and keep one eye on your uncle. I wish to have a little talk with Mr. Kemper. You give us a warning when you hear your Uncle Horace coming. Mr. Kemper, I was that dear girl's mother's oldest friend. Believe me when I say I'm on your side. I wish to see you two married very soon, and I think I can say I can be of real service to you. Mr. Kemper, I always get right to the point.
What is the point, Mrs. Levi?
Mr. Vandergelder is a very rich man, and Ermengarde is his only relative.
Oh, but I'm not interested in Mr. Vandergelder's money. I would have to support a wife and family.
Enough. How much is enough when one is thinking of children in the future? The future, Mr. Kemper, is the most expensive luxury in the world.
Mrs. Levi, what is the point?
Believe me, Mr. Vandergelder wishes to get rid of Ermengarde, and if you follow my suggestions, he will even permit her to marry you. You see, Mr. Vandergelder is planning to get married himself.
What? That monster?
Mr. Kemper!
Married Mrs. Levi to you?
No, I'm really arranging it. I'm helping to find him a suitable bride.
For Mr. Vandergelder, there are no suitable brides.
I think we can safely say that Mr. Vandergelder will be married to someone by the end of next week.
Well, what do you suggest?
I'm taking Ermengarde to New York on the next train, but I will not take her to Miss Van Hoosen's as planned. I shall take her to my house instead. I wish for you to call on her there at 5:30. Here's my card.
Mrs. Dolly Gallagher Levi, varicose veins reduced.
Whoop! Beg your pardon.
I beg your pardon, consultation is free.
I meant to give you my other card. Here.
Mrs. Dolly Gallagher Levi, Aurora Hosiery, instruction in guitar and mandolin. You do all these things, Mrs. Levi?
2 and 2 make 4, Mr. Kemper, and they always do. Now let me tell you what we'll do. At 5:30, you'll come to my house. At about 6, I'll take you and Ermengarde both to the Harmonia Gardens restaurant on the Battery. Mr. Vandergelder will be there, and everything will be arranged.
How?
Oh, I don't know. One thing will lead to another.
How do I know that I can trust you? You can easily make our situation worse.
Mr. Kemper, your situation could not possibly be worse.
I wish I knew what you got out of this, Mrs. Levi.
That is a very proper question. I get 2 things, profit and pleasure.
How?
Mr. Kemper, I'm a woman who arranges things. At present, I'm arranging Mr. Vandergelder's domestic affairs. Out of it I get, shall we call it? Yes, why don't we little pickings? I need little pickings, Mr. Kemper, especially just now when I haven't got my train fare back to New York. You see, I'm frank with you.
That's your profit, Mrs. Levi, but where do you get your pleasure?
My pleasure. Mr. Kemper, when you artists paint a hillside or a river, you change everything a little. You make thousands of little changes, don't you? Nature is never completely satisfactory as it is and must be corrected. Well, I'm like you artists, Mr. Kemper. Life as it is never interesting enough for me. I'm bored. So I put my hand in here, and I put my hand in there, and I watch and I listen, and often I'm very much amused.
Not my affairs, Mrs. Levi.
Oh, wait, I haven't finished. There's another thing. I'm very interested in this household here, and Mr. Vandergelder and all that idle, frozen money of his. I don't like the thought of it lying in great piles, useless, motionless in the bank. Money should circulate like rainwater, Mr. Kemper. It should be flowing in and among the people through dressmakers and restaurants and cabmen, setting up a little business here and furnishing a good time there. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, I do.
New York should be a very happy city, Mr. Kemper, but it isn't. My late husband came from Vienna, Mr. Ephraim Levi. Oh, my. Now there's a city that understands this. I want New York to be more like Vienna and less like a collection of nervous Italians. And if you and Ermengarde get a good deal of Mr. Vandergelder's money, I want you to see that it starts flowing in and around a lot of people's lives.
Mrs. Levi, Uncle Horace is coming.
Well, Mr. Kemper, you better be going. Darling, Mr. Kemper and I had a very good talk. You'll see, Mr. Vandergelder and I will be dancing at your wedding very, very soon. Oh, Mr. Vandergelder, how handsome you look. Take my breath away. Yes, my dear. Mr. Vandergelder, if Irene Malloy could see you now. But then I don't know what's come over you. You seem to be growing younger every day.
Allowing for exaggeration, Mrs. Levi. If a man eats careful, there's no reason he should look old.
Oh, you've never said a truer word.
I'll never see 55 ever again.
55. I can see you're the sort that'll be stamping about at 100, eating 5 meals a day, just like, what's his name? My Uncle Harry. At 55, my Uncle Harry was a mere boy, but I'm a judge of hands, Mr. Vandergelder. Show me your hands. Lord in heaven, what lifeline.
Where?
Goes from here to here, it runs right off your arm, I don't know where it goes. They'll have to hit you on the head with a mallet, stifle you with a sofa pillow. You'll bury us all. However, to return to our business, Mr. Vandergelder, I suppose you've given up all idea of getting married and changed your mind completely again.
Oh, no, not at all, Mrs. Levi. I have news for you.
News?
Well, yes, I've practically decided to ask Mrs. Malloy to be my wife.
You have?
Yes, I have.
Oh, you have. Well, I guess that's just about the best news I ever heard. Oh, dear me, so I guess there's nothing left for me to do but wish you every happiness under the sun and say goodbye.
Well, Mrs. Levi, surely I...
Well, I did have one little suggestion to make, but, now, of course, all that's too late. You're to marry Irene Malloy, and that settles the matter.
Well, what suggestion was that?
Well, I had found another girl for you, but...
Another?
The most wonderful girl, the ideal wife.
Another? What's her name?
Her name?
Yes.
Ernestina Simple. Ernestina Simple. But now, of course, all that's too late. After all, you're engaged. You're practically engaged to marry Irene Malloy.
Oh, I ain't engaged to Mrs. Malloy.
Nonsense. You can't break poor Irene's heart now and change to another girl. Why, when a man at your time of life calls 4 times on an attractive widow like that, sends her a pot of geraniums, that's practically an engagement.
Well, that ain't an engagement.
And yet, if only you were free. I found this treasure of a girl. Every moment I felt like a traitor to Irene Malloy, but let me tell you, I couldn't help it. I told this girl all about you just as though you were a free man. Isn't that dreadful? Fact is, she's fallen in love with you already.
Ernestina?
Miss Ernestina Simple.
Ernestina Simple.
Of course, she's a very different idea than Mrs. Malloy. Simple, domestic, practical, like her name.
Can she cook?
Cook, Mr. Vandergelder. I've had 2 meals from her hands, and as I live, I don't know what I've done that God should reward me with such meals. I'm the best cook in the world myself, so I know it's good.
How old is she, Mrs. Levi?
19. Oh, say 20.
20? Girls of 20 are apt to favor young fellows of their own age, Mrs. Levi.
Oh, but you don't listen to me, and you don't know the girl. She has a positive horror of flighty, brainless young men. Fine head of gray hair, she says, is with 20 shined up with goose grease.
That's not usual, Mrs. Levi.
Usual! I'm not wearing myself to the bone hunting up usual girls to interest you, Mr. Vandergelder. Usual indeed, listen to me. You know the sort of pictures she has on her walls? Is it any of those young Romeos and Lochinvars? No, it's Moses on the mountain. That's what she's got. If you want to make her happy, give her a picture of Methuselah surrounded by his grandchildren. That's my advice to you.
What's her family?
Her father, rest his soul, he was the best, what am I trying to say? The best undertaker in New York, respected, esteemed, knew all the best people, knew them well even before they died. So, well, that's how that is. Now, let me tell you a little more of her appearance. Can you hear me as I say a beautiful girl, beautiful? I've seen her go down the street, you know what I mean? The young men get dizzy, they have to lean against lampposts. And she, modest eyes on the ground. But I won't tell you any more. Oh, Mr. Vandergelder, couldn't you come to New York today?
Well, I was thinking of coming to New York this afternoon.
Oh, you were? Well, now I wonder if something could be arranged, or if she's so eager to meet you. Let me see.
Could I, Mrs. Levi, could I give you 2 ladies a little dinner, maybe?
Really, now that I think of it, I don't know where I could get the time. I'm so busy over that wretched lawsuit of mine. Yes, if I win it, I don't mind telling you, I'll be what's called a very rich woman. I'll own half of Staten Island, and that's a fact. But just now I'm at my wit's end for a little help, with just enough money to finish it off. My wit's end! But I'll see if I can arrange a little dinner. Yes, for that lawsuit, all I need is $50, and Staten Island's as good as mine.
$50?
I've been trotting all over New York for you, trying to find you a suitable wife.
$50 is no joke, Mrs. Levi. I don't know where money's gone these days. It's in hiding. Well, here's 20. Oh, 25, but I can't spare no more. Not now, I can't.
Now let me tell you what we'll do. I'll bring Ernestina to that restaurant on the Battery. You know it, the Harmonia Gardens. It's good, but it's not flashy. Now, Mr. Vandergelder, I think it'd be real nice if just this once you could order a lovely dinner. I suppose you can afford it.
Well, just this once.
A chicken wouldn't hurt.
Chicken? Well, just this once.
And a little wine.
Wine? Well, just this once.
Good. Now, what about that Irene Malloy matter? Shall we call that closed?
No, not at all, Mrs. Levi. I want to have dinner with Miss,
Simple.
With Miss Simple, but first I want to have make another call on Mrs. Malloy.
Dear, dear, dear. And Miss Simple, the races you make me run. Very well, I'll meet you outside Mrs. Malloy's hat shop at 4:30, as usual.
The buggy's here ready for the parade, Mr. Vandergelder.
Go and call Barnaby. I want to talk to both of you.
Yes, Mr. Vandergelder.
Now do put your thoughts in order, Mr. Vandergelder. I can't keep upsetting and disturbing the finest women in New York unless you mean business.
Well, I mean business, all right.
I hope so, because you're playing a very dangerous game.
Dangerous? Dangerous, Mrs. Levi.
Of course it's dangerous, and there's a word for it, isn't there? You're tampering with these ladies' affections. The only way you can save yourself now is to maybe be married to someone by the end of next week. So think that over.
This morning I'm joining my lodge parade, and this afternoon I'm going to New York. When I come back, there are going to be some changes to the house. I'll tell you what the change is, but I don't want you discussing it amongst yourselves. You're going to have a mistress.
But I'm too young, Mr. Vandergelder.
Not yours. Death and damnation, not yours, idiot. Mine. Hey, hold your tongue until you're spoken to. I'm thinking of getting married again.
Many congratulations, Mr. Vandergelder, and my compliments to the lady.
It's none of your business. Now go back to the store. Well, but before you go, do you have any questions for me?
Mr. Vandergelder.
Yes.
Mr. Vandergelder.
Yes, Cornelius.
Does Chief Clerk get one evening free every week?
So that's the way you want to begin being chief clerk, is it? When I was your age, I got up at 5 in the morning, didn't close the shop until 10 at night, and then I put in a good hour at the account books. You elegant ladies lie in bed until 6, and at 9 at night, you rush to close the door so fast the line of customers has to bark their noses. No, sir. You'll attend the store as usual, and on Fridays and Saturdays, you'll remain open until 10. Now hear what I say! This is the first time I'm going to be away from the store overnight, and I want to hear that you run the place perfectly in my absence. If I hear of any foolishness, I'll discharge you. An evening free. If you keep asking for evenings free, you'll end up with all your days free. Remember that. And don't forget to put the lid on the sheep dip.
The horses nearly ran away when they saw him. There he goes. Oof, oof. What's the matter, Cornelius?
Chief Clerk. Promoted from Chief Clerk to Chief Clerk.
Don't you like it?
Chief Clerk. 10 years if I'm good, I'll be promoted to Chief Clerk again. 33 years old and I still don't have an evening free. When am I going to begin to live?
Well, you can begin to live on Sundays.
Oh, that's not living. Twice the church and old wolf trap's eyes on the back of my head. That's for holidays. We do last Christmas. All those cans of tomatoes went bad and exploded. We had to clean them up all afternoon. Is that living?
No.
Barnaby, how much money have you got? Where you can get at it?
$3. Why, Cornelius?
You and I are going to New York!
But Cornelius, we can't. Close the store?
Some more rotten tomatoes are going to explode.
Holy cabooses! How do you know?
I know they're rotten. All you have to do is light a match under them. It makes such a smell that customers won't be able to come to the store for 24 hours. That'll give us an evening free. We're going to New York too, Barnaby, and we're going to live. I'm going to have enough adventures to last me until I'm a partner. So go and get your Sunday clothes.
What?
Yes, I mean it. We're going to have a good meal. We're going to be in danger. We're going to almost get arrested. We're going to spend all of our money.
Holy...
And one more thing. We're not coming back to Yonkers till we've kissed a girl.
Cornelius, you don't know any girls.
I'm 33. Gotta begin sometime.
But I'm only 17. It isn't so urgent for me.
Oh, don't start backing down now. If worst comes to worst and we're discharged, we can always join the army.
Did I hear you say you'd be a Wolf Trap's partner?
Oh, how can I help it? He's getting old. When you go to bed at 9 and open the store at 6 every morning, you get promoted upwards whether you like it or not.
I may rise a little, but I'll never be a Vandergelder.
Oh, listen, everybody thinks when he's a rich person, be a different type of rich person than the rich people he sees around him. Later on, he finds out there's only one type of rich person. And he's it.
Oh, but I'll...
Best of all would be a person who has all the good things of a rich person and all the good meals of a rich person. Oh, but that's never been known. No, you and I will be Vandergelders. All the more reason then for us to get some living and some ventures into us now. Will you come, Barnaby?
But, Kurt... yes, Cornelius.
Mr. Hackle, is the trunk ready at the railroad station?
Yes, Mrs. Levi.
Well, take a last look, Ermengarde. What? Take a last look at your girlhood home, dear. I remember the day I left mine, I gave a whinny like a young horse, and off I went.
Oh, Gertrude, should I get married in this way? Oh, a young girl ought to be so careful.
I think I'm going to have this room in blue wallpaper. Yes, in blue.
All clear up here, Cornelius. Hold the candle steady a minute. The bottom row's all right, but try the top row now. They're swelling like they're ready to bust. Holy cabooses! I can smell it up here.
Go and get your Sunday clothes, Barnaby. We're going to New York.
Minnie, you're a fool. Of course I shall marry Horace Vandergelder.
Oh, Mrs. Malloy, I didn't ask you. I wouldn't dream of asking you such a personal question.
But it's what you meant, isn't it? And there's your answer. I shall certainly marry Horace Vandergelder, if you should ask me.
I know it's none of my business.
Speak up, Minnie, I can't hear you.
But do you?
Minnie, you're a fool. Say it. Do I love him? No, of course I don't love him. But I have two good reasons for marrying him just the same. Minnie, do something with this hat. It's not ugly enough.
Not ugly enough.
I couldn't sell it. Put a sponge on it.
Why, Mrs. Malloy, you're in such a mood today.
In the first place, I shall marry Horace Vandergelder to get away from the millinery business. I've hated it from the first day I had anything to do with it. Minnie, I hate hats.
Why, what's the matter with the millinery business?
I can no longer stand being suspected of being a wicked woman while I have nothing to show for it. I just can't stand it.
Oh, no one would dream of suspecting you.
Minnie, you're a fool. All millineresses are suspected of being wicked women. Why, half the time all those women come in here merely to look at me.
Oh,
They enjoy the suspicion, but they aren't certain. If they were certain I was a wicked woman, they wouldn't set foot in this place again. Do I go to restaurants? No, it would be bad for business. Do I go to balls and theaters or operas? No, it would be bad for business. The only men I ever meet are feather merchants. What are those two young men doing out there on that park bench? Take my word for it, Minnie. Either I marry Horace Vandergelder, or I break out of this place like a fire engine. I'll go to every ball and theater and opera in New York City.
but Mr. Vandergelder's not.
Speak up, Minnie. I can't hear you.
I don't think he's attractive.
But what I think he is, and it's very important, I think he'd be a good fighter.
Mrs. Malloy!
Take my word for it, Minnie. The best in married life is in the fights. The rest is merely so-so.
Oh, I won't listen.
Peter Malloy, God rest him, was a fine arguing man. I pity the woman whose husband slams the door and walks out at the beginning of an argument. Peter Malloy would stand up and fight for hours on end. He'd even throw things, Minnie, and there's no pleasure to equal that. When I felt tired, I'd start a good blood-warming fight with him to take 10 years off my age. Now, Horace Vandergelder would put up a good fight. I know it. I have a mind to marry him.
I think they're just awful, these things that you're saying today.
I'm enjoying myself, too.
Mrs. Malloy, those two men out in the street.
What?
Those men, it looks as if they meant to come in here.
Well, now, it's about time some men come in here.
Oh.
I'll give you the younger one, Minnie.
Oh, aren't you terrible?
Wait till I get my hands on that older one. Mark my words, Minnie. We'll have an adventure out of this yet. Adventure? Why, does everyone have adventures except me, Minnie?
Oh, Mrs. Malloy.
I have no spirit. I have no gumption. Minnie, they're coming in here. Let's go into the workroom and make them wait for us a
Oh,
minute.
but Mrs. Malloy, my word.
Hurry up, Minnie.
Oh.
Be quick now.
No one's here.
Some women were in here a minute ago. I saw them. That's old Wolf Trek, all right. Well, we'll have to hide here until he passes by.
He's sitting down at that bench, maybe quite a while.
When these women come in, We're gonna have to make conversation until he passes. We'll pretend we're buying a hat. How much money have you got now?
40 cents for the train, 70 cents for dinner, 20 cents to see the whale, and $1 I lost. I have 70 cents.
I have $1.75. I wish I knew which hats cost.
Is this an adventure, Cornelius?
No, but it may be.
I think it is. There we wander around New York all day and nothing happens. Then we come to the quietest street in the whole city, and Mr. Vandergelder turns the corner. I think this is an adventure, Cornelius. I think, Cornelius, that Mrs. Levi is there now. She's sitting down at the bench with him.
What do you know about that? You know one person in all New York, and there she is.
Even if our adventure did come along now, I'd be too tired to enjoy it.
Oh, don't say that. When you're in an adventure, you'll know all right.
Maybe I won't. Let's arrange a signal for you to give to me when it's an adventure we're in. For instance, you say, pudding. You say pudding to me if it's an adventure.
Wonder where the lady who runs the store is. What's her name again?
Mrs. Malloy, hats for ladies.
Oh, yes. I must think over what I'm going to say when she comes in. Good afternoon, Mrs. Malloy. Wonderful weather we're having. We've been looking everywhere for some beautiful hats.
That's fine, Cornelius.
Good afternoon, Mrs. Malloy. Wonderful. We'll make her think we're really rich. Good afternoon, Mrs. Malloy. Wonderful. You keep an eye on the door the entire time. We've been looking everywhere for some beautiful...
I'm sorry. Have I kept you waiting? Good afternoon, gentlemen.
Here, Cornelius Apple.
Here, Barnaby Tucker.
Very happy to meet you. Perhaps I can help you with something. Won't you sit down?
Thank you. You will. You see, Mrs. Malloy, we're looking for hats.
Is that so?
We've looked everywhere. You know what we heard? Go to Mrs. Malloy's, they said. So we came here. It's the only place we could go.
Well, now that's very
And
complimentary.
we were right. Everyone was right.
Oh, you wish to choose some hats for a friend?
Yes, exactly.
Yes, exactly.
We were thinking 5 or 6, weren't we, Barnaby?
5.
Oh, you see, Mrs. Malloy, money's no object with us. None at all.
Why, Mr.
I beg your pardon. What an interesting street you have here. Something happening every minute, passerby.
You're from out of town, Mr. Hackle?
Oh, yes. Barnaby, keep an eye on the street, won't you? You won't see that in Yonkers every day.
Yes, I will.
Not all of it.
Now, this friend of yours, she couldn't come in with you someday and choose her hats for herself?
No, oh no, it's a surprise for her.
Indeed. Oh, that may prove to be a little difficult. You see, it's not entirely customary. Friend is very interested in the street, Mr. Hackle.
Oh, yes, he has a reason to be.
You said you're from out of town?
Yes, we're from Yonkers.
Yonkers.
Yonkers. Oh, yes, Yonkers. You should know Yonkers, Mrs. Malloy. Hudson River, Palisades, Drive. Some say it's the most beautiful town in the whole world. That's what they say.
Is that so?
If you ever had an evening free, we'd love to show you Yonkers. It's very historic, too.
That's very kind. Well, perhaps... Now, about those hats...
Have you, maybe Mr. Malloy would like to see Yonkers?
Oh, I'm a widow, Mr. Hackle.
You are? Oh, that's too bad. Mr. Malloy would have enjoyed Yonkers.
Very likely. Now, this friend of yours, is her hair light or dark?
Don't think about it for a minute. Anything you like would be perfectly all right with her.
Really? Do you like this one?
Barnaby, look!
That's fine.
Mrs. Malloy, that's the most beautiful hat I ever saw.
Your friend is acting very strangely, Mr. Hackle.
Barnaby! I'm acting strangely. That street's quiet and empty. Come back and talk to us. Now, what was I saying? Oh, yes. Mrs. Malloy, you should really know Yonkers.
Fact is, I have a friend in Yonkers. Perhaps you know him. It's so foolish to ask in cases like that, isn't it? It's a Mr. Vandergelder.
What was it you said?
A horse Vandergelder?
Know him? Why, Mrs. Malloy. What an attractive shop you have here. Where's this door lead to?
Oh, that's my workroom, Mr.
Everything
Hackle.
here is so interesting. Every door, every corner, Mrs. Malloy. Barnaby, notice all the interesting doors and cupboards here. Oh, deeply interesting. Coats for ladies. Barnaby, make a note of that table. Fine piece of furniture with a low-hanging tablecloth, I see.
Perhaps your friend would like some of this new Italian straw. Mr. Vandergelder's a very substantial man and very well liked, they tell me.
Oh, lovely man, Mrs. Malloy.
Yes, charming, charming.
He only has one fault as far as I'm concerned. He's hard as nails. Other than that, as you say, charming nature.
And a large circle of friends?
Oh, yes. 5 or 6.
5.
I suppose he comes in and calls on you here from time to time.
This summer we'll be wearing ribbons down our backs. Yes, in fact, I was expecting a call from him this afternoon.
Cornelius,
Now, to show you some more hats.
Look out!
Beg your pardon, Mrs. Malloy.
Gentlemen, Mr. Hackle! Come on, right this minute!
I'll explain later, Mrs. Malloy. Just help us out, just this once.
Mr. Hackle!
We're as innocent as can be, Mrs. Malloy.
Gentlemen, really, I can't have this. What are you doing?
Cornelius! Pudding?
Pudding!
Irene, my darling child, how are you? Heaven be good to us, how well you look.
Oh, what a surprise! And Mr. Vandergelder in New York. A pleasure.
Good afternoon, Mrs. Malloy.
Yes, Mr. Vandergelder's in New York today. Yonkers lies up there, decimated. We thought we'd pay you a very short visit, Irene. Now you'll tell us if it's inconvenient, won't you?
Inconvenient, Dolly. Oh, my dear. Why, it was sweet of you to come.
We waited outside a moment.
Mr. Vandergelder thought he saw 2 customers coming in, 2 men.
Men, Mr. Vandergelder. Oh, what will you be saying next?
Well, then we can sit down for a minute or 2.
Oh, before you sit down, I'd like to show you something. I'd like to show Mr. Vandergelder my workroom.
I've seen the workroom 100 times. I'll stay right here and try on some of these hats.
No, you come too, Dolly. I have something for you. Come along, everybody. Mr. Vandergelder, I'd like to ask your advice. You don't know how helpless a woman in business is. Why, every moment I feel I need advice from a fine business head like yours. Now I shut the door.
Maybe she wants us to go now, Cornelius.
Certainly I won't go. She would just think we're foolish fellows. No, I just want to stretch a minute.
What happens when Mr. Vandergelder goes, Cornelius?
Well, I don't know. I like Mrs. Malloy. I wouldn't like her to think badly of me. I think I'll buy a hat. We can walk back to Yonkers, even if it takes all night. Wish I knew which hats cost. Barnaby, give me all the money you've got. Ah! My, all the perfumes in this cupboard tickle my nose. But I like it in there. It's a woman's world and very different.
I like it where I am too, only I'd like it better if I had a pillow.
Oh, here, I'll grab one of these coats. I'll roll it up so it doesn't get mussed. Ladies don't like it when their coats are mussed.
Thanks. Now I can just lay here and hear Mr. Vandergelder talk.
This summer we'll be wearing ribbons on our back.
Can I take my shoes off, Cornelius?
Isn't the world full of wonderful things? There we sit cooped up in Yonkers for years and years, and all the while wonderful people like Mrs. Malloy are walking around New York and we don't know them at all. I don't know whether, well, from where you're sitting you can see. Well, for instance, the way her eye and cheek and forehead come together up here. Can you? And the kind of fireworks that shoot out of her eyes all the time. I tell you right now, a fine woman is the greatest work of God. You can talk all you like about Niagara Falls or the pyramids. They're not in it at all. Of course, up in Yonkers, they came into the store all the time, bought this and that, and I said, "Yes, ma'am. That'll be 75 cents, ma'am." And I watched them. But today, I talked to one equal to equal. Equal to equal. And to the finest one that's ever existed, in my opinion. They're so different from men. Everything they say and do is so different. You just feel like laughing all the time. Golly, they're different from men. They're awfully mysterious, too. You can never really be sure what's going on in their heads. They have this sort of wall around them of pride and sort of play acting. I bet you could know a woman for 100 years without ever being sure if she really liked you or not. This minute, I'm in danger. Danger of losing my job and my future. Everything that people think is important. But I don't care. Even if I have to dig ditches the rest of my life, I'll be a ditch digger who once had a wonderful day. Barnaby!
Oh, you woke me up.
Barnaby, we can't go back to Yonkers yet. And do you know why?
Why not?
We've had a good meal. We've been in danger. We've almost gotten arrested. There's only one more thing we have to do, and it's go back to Yonkers and be successes.
But Cornelius, you can't kiss Mrs. Malloy.
Maybe.
But she'll scream.
Barnaby, you don't know anything at all. You might as well know now that everyone except for us goes around kissing right and left all the time.
Well, thanks for telling me. I often wondered.
Just a minute, Irene. I must find my handkerchief. Why, Mr. Hackle, I thought you were up to Yonkers.
Oh, I almost always am, Mrs. Levi.
We're terribly innocent, Mrs. Levi.
Why, who's that?
Barnaby Tucker, just paying a call.
Well, who else is here?
Oh, just the two of us, ma'am, that's all.
Old friends of Mrs. Malloy's, is that it?
I didn't know her before a few minutes ago. But we like her a lot, don't we, Barnaby? In fact, I think she's the finest person that's ever existed. And I'm ready to tell that to anybody.
And does she think you're the finest person to ever exist, Mr. Hackle?
Oh, no. I don't suppose she even knows I'm alive.
I think she must know you're alive in that cupboard, Mr. Hackle, and if I were you, I'd get back into it right away. Someone could be coming at any minute.
Can I help you, Dolly?
Oh, no, I was just blowing my nose.
Mrs. Malloy, I've got some advice to give you about your business.
Oh, advice from Mr. Vandergelder. The whole city should hear this.
In the first place, the aim of business is to make a profit.
Is that so?
I never heard it put so clearly. Did you hear it?
You pay those girls of yours and they're too much. You pay them as much as men. Girls like that enjoy their work. Wages, Mrs. Malloy, are paid to make people do work they don't want to do.
Mr. Vandergelder thinks so ably. That's exactly the way his business is run up in Yonkers.
Mrs. Malloy, I'd like for you to come up to Yonkers.
Oh, that'd be very nice. Thank you. As a matter of fact, I know someone in Yonkers. Someone else.
Oh, who's that?
Someone quite well-to-do, though. A little free and easy in his behavior. Mr. Vandergelder, do you know Mr. Cornelius Hackle of Yonkers?
Cornelius Hackle? I know him like I know my own boot. He's my head clerk.
Is that so?
He's been in my store for 10 years.
Well, I never.
Where would you have known him?
Whoa. Just one of those chance meetings, I suppose.
Yes, one of those chance meetings.
What? Chance meetings? Cornelius Hackle has no right to chance meetings. Where was it?
Mr. Vandergelder, the truth might as well come out hours later. Irene Malloy is right. Your head clerk is often up to New York. Goes everywhere, has an army of friends. Everybody knows Cornelius Hackle.
He never comes to New York. He works all day in my store, and at 9 o'clock at night he goes to sleep in the brand room.
So you think, but it's not true.
Dally Gallagher, you're crazy.
Listen to me. You keep your nose so deep in your account books you don't know what goes on. Yes, by day, Cornelius Hackle is your loyal, trusted clerk, that's true. But by night, well, he leads double life, that's all. He's here at the opera, at all the great restaurants, and all the most fashionable homes. Why, he's at the Harmonia Gardens restaurant 3 times a week. The fact is, he's the wittiest, gayest, naughtiest, most delightful man in New York. Why, he's just the famous Cornelius Hackle.
It ain't the same man. If I ever thought he came to New York, I'd discharge him.
Who took the horses out of Jenny Lynn's carriage and pulled her down the street? Who? Cornelius Hackle. who dressed up as a waiter the other night at the Fifth Avenue Hotel, took an oyster and dropped it right down Mrs. It's too wicked to tell you.
Yes, Dolly, tell it, go on.
I won't. But it was Cornelius Hackle.
It ain't the same man. Where'd he get the money?
But he's very rich.
Rich! I keep all his money in my own safe. He's got $146.35.
Mr. Vandergelder, you're killing me. Do come to your senses. He's one of the Hackles.
The Hackles?
They built the Raritan Canal.
Well, then why should he work in my store?
Well, I'll tell you.
I don't want to hear it. I've got a headache. It ain't the same man. You can't get away from the facts. He sleeps in my brand room. I just made him my chief clerk.
If you had any sense, you'd make him partner. Now, Irene, I can see you were just as taken with him as everybody else is.
Oh, I only met him once. Very hastily.
Yes, but I can see you were taken with him. Don't you be thinking of marrying him now.
Oh, Dolly, what are you saying? Oh!
Maybe it'd be fine, but think it over carefully, dear. He breaks hearts like hickory nuts.
Who?
Cornelius Hackle!
Mrs. Malloy, how many times has he called on you?
Really, Mr. Vandergelder, I only met him once. Dolly's been exaggerating, so I don't know where to look.
Excuse me, Mrs. Malloy, I must get together that order for Mrs. Parkington.
Yes, we must get that off before closing.
Yes, I want to send it off by the errand girl. Oh, I almost forgot the code.
Oh, what's that?
Mrs. Malloy, help! There's a man! Minnie, you imagine it! Did you hear it? There's a man!
Well, that's the man now. We'll get out. Whoever you are, come on.
Oh, nonsense! There's no man in there, see? Miss Faye's nerves, we're just playing tricks on her. Come on, let's all sit down again. What do you say now, Mr. Vandergelder? Well, now I think that... God bless you!
Yes, there is a man in there, but there's a very simple explanation. But for the present, good afternoon, Dolly. Good afternoon, Mr. Vandergelder.
You're protecting a man in there.
Yes, and I'll explain it all to you another time, but for the present, good afternoon.
Lord, the room's crawling with men. I'll never get over it.
The world's gone to pieces. I can't believe my own eyes.
Come, Mr. Vandergelder, Ernestina Simple is waiting for us.
Mrs. Malloy, I shan't trouble you again, and vice versa.
Irene, when I think of all the interesting things you have in here, make the most of it, dear. Goodbye. Goodbye. So that was one of your practical jokes, Mr. Hackle.
No, Mrs. Malloy.
Come out from that Barnaby Tucker, you troublemaker. No need to be afraid, Minnie. I know all about these two gentlemen. You think because you're rich, you can make up tomorrow the harm you do, is that it?
No.
Minnie, this is the famous Cornelius Hackle who goes around New York tying people into knots. And that's Barnaby Tucker, another troublemaker.
How do you do?
Minnie, choose any hat and coat from the store. We're going out to dinner.
Pardon?
If this Cornelius Hackle is so rich and gay and charming, it's going to be rich and gay and charming to us. He dines 3 times a week at the Harmonia Gardens restaurant, does he? Well, he's taking us there now.
Mrs. Malloy, are you sure it's safe?
Hold your tongue, Minnie. We're in a position to put these men into jail if they so much as squeak.
Jail, Mrs. Malloy.
Jail?
Jail, Mr. Hackle. Officer Cogarty does everything I tell him to do. Minnie, we've been respectable women for years, and now we're a disgrace. We might as well make the most of it. Come into the workroom a minute, and I have an idea of a way we can perk up our appearance. We'll be back in a moment, gentlemen.
Oh, Mrs. Malloy. I hear there's an awfully good restaurant at the railway station.
Railway station? Railway station? No, sir, certainly not. You're going to give us good dinner in the heart of the fashionable world. Go on in, Minnie. Now, you boys don't forget that you made us lose our reputation, and now the fashionable world's the only place we can eat.
Maybe we should run away now, Cornelius.
No, I'm going through with this if it kills me. Barnaby, for a woman like that, a man could consent to go back to Yonkers and be a success.
All I know is no woman's going to make a success out of me.
Oh, jail or no jail, we're taking those ladies out to dinner. So grit your teeth.
Gentlemen, the cabs are at the corner, so forward march.
Yes, ma'am. Mrs. Malloy, is it far to the restaurant? Couldn't we just walk?
Minnie, take off your things. We're not going.
Mrs. Malloy!
Mr. Hackle, I don't go anywhere I'm not wanted. Good night. I'm not very happy to have met you.
Mrs. Malloy!
I suppose you think we're not fashionable enough for you, is that it?
No.
Well, I won't be a burden to you. Good night, Mr. Tucker.
Mrs. Malloy, we want you to go more than anything in the world.
No, you don't. Look at you. Look at the pair of them, Minnie, scowling, both of them.
Please, Mrs. Malloy.
And smile. Go on, smile. No, that's not good enough. You come with me, Minnie. We'll get our own supper.
Smile, Barnaby Lout.
My face can't smile any stronger than this.
Well, then do something. Show some interest. Do something lively. Sing.
Oh, I can't sing, Mrs. Malloy. Really, I can't.
We're wasting our time, Minnie. They don't want us.
Barnaby, what songs do you know? All we know are sad songs, Mrs. Malloy.
That doesn't matter. If you want us to come out with you, you've got to sing something.
We've been tenting tonight on the old
Who
campground.
comes? You boys go ahead. Minnie, you get the front door key. I'll lock up the workroom.
Why, Mrs. Malloy, you're crying.
Oh, Minnie, the world is so full of wonderful things. Watch me, dear, and tell me if my petticoat's showing.
Oh.
Now hear what I say. I want a table for 3.
For 3.
There'll be 2 ladies and myself.
It's a bad combination, Mr. Vandergelder. You'll regret it.
And I want a chicken.
A chicken? You'll regret it.
Hold your tongue. Write it down. Chicken.
Yes, sir. Chicken Esterhazy, chicken hunter style, or chicken a la creme.
I don't know. A chicken like everyone else has it. And with the chicken, I want a bottle of wine.
Yes, sir. Moselle, Chevalis, or Bourgeois.
He doesn't understand English, Mr. Vandergelder. You better speak up.
W-I-N-E!
Vine.
Vine. When I want this table removed, we'll eat at that table alone.
Yes, sir.
There are 2 people coming in here now, Mr. Vandergelder.
Oh, it's my niece and that artist. Hey! What are they doing here? The traitors, the scoundrels!
Mr. Vandergelder, remember what Napoleon said.
And there's Mrs. Levi, too. Let me get my hands on them.
Remember what Napoleon said, Mr. Vandergelder.
Napoleon said what?
Hide. Listen. Hear what they're planning. Napoleon. Be a Napoleon, sir. Outsmart them, Mr. Vandergelder.
Enjoy yourself, enjoy yourself. Now, Ermengarde, dear, there's nothing wicked about eating in a restaurant. Nothing wicked even about being in New York. Clergymen just make those things up to fill out their sermons.
Oh, but I don't want to eat in a public restaurant like this.
Come now, dear, there are some lovely private rooms upstairs just meant for shy, timid girls like ourselves.
Stack, I want to write a note.
Oh, yes, excuse me.
Go and call that cabman in here. I want to talk to him.
No one asks advice from a cabman, Mr. Vandergelder. They see so much life that they have no ideas left.
Do as I tell you.
Yes, sir. Advice from a cabman.
My dear Miss Van Heusen. Everyone's dear in a letter. It's enough to make you give up writing them. My dear Miss Van Heusen, this is Ermengarde, and that rascal Ambrose Kemper. They are trying to run away. Keep them in your house until I come.
Oh, what's he want?
I want to talk to you.
I'm engaged. I'm waiting for my parties.
I know, but do you want to earn $5?
Huh?
I asked you, do you want to earn $5?
Well, I don't know. I never tried.
When those parties of yours come downstairs, I want you to drive them to this address. Never mind what they say, drive them to this address. See that they get in the door and keep them there.
I can't make people go into a house if they don't want to.
Can you for $10?
See, even for $10, I can't do it alone.
This fellow here will help you.
Now I'm pushing people into houses.
There's the address, Miss Flora Van Heusen, 8 Jackson Street.
Even if I got him in the door, I can't be sure they'd stay there.
You can for $15.
Murder begins at $25.
Stack! See that the table is set for 3 and that no one else eats here. I'll be back in half an hour.
Yes, sir.
Who's your friend?
Friend? That's not a friend. That's an employer I'm trying out for a few days.
You won't like him.
I can see you're in business for yourself, for you talk about liking employers. No one's liked an employer since business began. No, sir. I suppose you think your horse likes you?
My old Clementine, she'd give her right feet for me.
That's what all employers think. You imagine it. The streets of New York are full of cab horses winking at one another. Here, let's go to the kitchen and grab some whiskey. I can't push people into houses when I'm sober. No, I've had about 50 employers in my life, but this is the most employer of them all. He talks to everybody as though he were paying them.
I had an employer once. He watched me from 8 in the morning to 6 at night. Just sat there and watched me. Oh dear, not even my mother thought I was all that interesting.
Yes, being employed is like being loved. You know someone's thinking about you the whole time.
See, here's the place I meant. Isn't it fine? Minnie, take off your things. We'll be here for hours.
Are you sure you like it here, Mrs. Malloy? I think I feel a draft.
Indeed, I do like it. We're going to have fine dinner right in this room. It's private and it's elegant. Now we're going to forget our troubles and call each other by our first names. Cornelius, call the waiter.
Wait. I seem to have lost my voice. Must have caught a cold on the ride over here. Oh, nope, it won't come.
I don't believe you. Barnaby, you call him.
Waiter.
I never thought I'd be in such a place in my whole life. Mrs. Malloy, is this what they call a cafe?
Yes, this is a cafe. Sit down, Minnie. Cornelius, Mrs. Levi gave us to understand that every waiter in New York knew you.
Oh, they will.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
How are you, Fritz? How are you, my friend?
I'm Rudolph.
Oh, of course, Rudolph, of course. Well, Rudolph, these ladies like a little something to eat. You know what I mean. Just if you can find the time. I know how busy you are.
Cornelius, there's no need to be so familiar with the waiter.
Oh, yes, there is.
Minnie, what would you like to eat?
Oh, just anything, Irene.
No, speak up. What do you want?
No, really, I have no appetite at all. Oh. I'll take some sardines on toast and a glass of milk.
Great grindstones! What a sensible girl. Barnaby, give that Minnie a hand. She's the most sensible girl in the whole world. Rudolph, bring us, gentlemen, 2 glasses of beer, a loaf of bread, and some cheese.
I've never heard of such nonsense. We came in for a good dinner and a good time. Minnie, have you ever had pheasant?
Pheasant? No.
Rudolph, have you any pheasant?
Yes, in fact, he just arrived from New Jersey this morning.
Oh, even the pheasants are leaving New Jersey! Oh, all right, write this down. We'll have mock turtle soup, pheasant, mashed chestnuts, a green salad, and some nice red wine.
All right, Barnaby, you watch me. Rudolph, write this down. Neapolitan ice cream, hot house peaches, champagne, and a German band. Have you got a German band?
No, Cornelius, I won't let you be so extravagant. Champagne, but no band. Hurry up, we're ready to eat. Come upstairs, I have an idea about your hair. I think it would look nice in 2 wee horns.
Oh, horns?
Cornelius, they say in the army you have to curry horses all the time.
Oh, that doesn't matter. By the time we get out of jail, we can move right over to the old men's home.
Waiter, what's that you have?
It's some champagne, ma'am.
Oh, Cornelius, it's our champagne!
No, it's for his honor, the mayor of New York. He's very impatient.
Oh, shame on him. The mayor of New York has more important things to be impatient about. Cornelius, open it up.
But, ma'am, you'll kill me.
Oh, well then have a glass and die happy.
You'll kill me.
I knew you would. For the first time in 10 years, all the waiters burst into tears. You'll kill me. Right, drink that and stop crying, love. Barnaby, make a toast.
To all the ladies in the world, may I get to know more of them, and may I get to know them better.
The ladies.
Oh, that's very sweet and very refined. Minnie, for that I'm going to give Barnaby a kiss. Hold your tongue. I'm old enough to be his mother, and a dear wee mother I would have been too. Why Barnaby, this is from all the ladies in the world.
Now I can go back to yours, Cornelius. Pudding! Pudding! Pudding!
Oh, look at Barnaby. He's not strong enough for a kiss. His head can't stand it. Minnie, I'm enjoying myself. I think this happens in hundreds of places while I sit at home, darning my stockings. Cornelius, dance with me.
Oh, Irene, the Hackers don't dance. We're Presbyterian.
Minnie, you dance with me.
Lovely music.
Oh, why, Minnie, you dance beautifully.
Oh, we girls dance in the workroom when you're not looking.
Oh, you thought I'd be cross if you didn't ask me to dance. Cornelius, Jenny Linden loves other girls. Do you see them often?
Irene, I put them right out of my head. I'm interested in...
Rudolph, what are you doing?
I'm sorry, get out! Please. I'm sorry, this table has been reserved. Special orders.
Stop right there. We got here first.
I'm sorry, ma'am, but this veranda is open to anybody who wants it.
Oh. Here comes Madam Garcia.
Take our table away from here. We got here first. Cornelia, go on.
Ma'am, my employer reserved this room at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Yous once could go eat in the restaurant. My employer said it was very important that he have this table alone.
No, sir. We got here first, and we're going to stay here. Alone, too.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Shut up, you. You are an impertinent, idiotic killjoy.
That's an insult.
That's not your insults. Please do something. Knock it over. The table.
Knock it over!
I'm sorry, but this table, or this room, cannot be resolved for anyone. If you want to eat alone, what's that? I'm sorry, but those are the rules.
We're going to have a nice dinner right in this room. Cornelius, knock it over.
Wait till you see my employer.
Okay. I'll tell you what to do, Bill. Put up a screen in between the tables.
I won't eat behind the screen. I won't. Me making noise. We're not animals in a menagerie. And there's a white eye here 10 years younger. No scream. No scream.
Now you learned something. There comes my employer now. Getting out of that cab.
Well, I'll knock you down too!
Cornelius, it's book trap. Yes, it is.
Listen, everybody.
We're trying to play here.
Listen, everybody, I think the screen's a good idea. Have you got any more screens? We could use 3 or 4.
Quiet down, Cornelius, and stop changing your mind. All right, Rudolph, we're ready for our soup. Hurry up.
Yes, ma'am. Stop! What's the meaning of this? I thought I told you I wanted the table alone. What's this? Mr. Vandergelder, I did what I could, Mr. Vandergelder. You wouldn't believe what wild savages the people of New York are. There's a woman over there, Mr. Vandergelder. Civilization hasn't touched her. Everything's wrong. You can't even manage a thing like that. Now here, help me out with my coat. But don't kill me, don't kill me.
Speak up, I can't hear you.
My voice again. Barnaby, how's your throat? Can you speak? I can't make a sound.
Well, very well. We'll bring our heads together and we'll whisper.
Who are those people over there? Some city sparks and their girls, Mr. Vandergelder. What goes on in big cities, Mr. Vandergelder? Best not to think of it.
Has that couple come down from upstairs yet? I hope they haven't gone off without seeing them.
No, sir. Me and the cabman have kept our eyes on everything.
I'll wait here for my guests. You go out to the cab.
Yes, sir. Yeah. What's this? A purse? Did you drop something, Mr. Vandergelder?
No, don't bother me. Do as I tell you.
A purse? That fellow over there must have let it fall during the misunderstanding about the screen. No, I won't look inside. $20 bills! Dozens of them! give it to him. You're surprised? You're surprised to see me getting rid of this money so quickly, eh? I'll explain it to you. There was a time in my life when my chief interest was picking up money that didn't belong to me. The law is there to protect property, but sure, the law doesn't care whether a property owner deserves his property or not, and the law has to be corrected. There are several thousands of people in this country engaged in correcting the law. For a while, I too was engaged in the redistribution of superfluities. A man works all his life and leaves $1 million to his widow. She sits at hotels and eats great meals and plays cards all afternoon and evening with 10 diamonds on her fingers. Call in the robbers! Call in the robbers! Or a man leaves it to his son, who stands leaning against bars all night boring a bartender. Call in the robbers! Stealing's a weakness. There are some people who say you shouldn't have any weaknesses at all. No vices. But if a man has no vices, he's in great danger of making vices out of his virtues. And there's a spectacle. We've all seen them. Men who are monsters of philanthropy, and women who are dragons of purity. We've seen people who told the truth though the heavens fall. And the heavens fell. No. Nurse one vice in your bosom. Give it the attention it deserves and let your virtues spring up modestly around it. Then you'll have the miser who's no liar, and the drunkard who's the benefactor of a whole city. Well, after I had that weakness of stealing for a while, I found another. I took to whiskey. Whiskey took to me. And then I discovered an important rule that I'm going to pass on to you. Never support two vices at the same time. It's your combination sinners, your lecherous liars, and your miserly drunkards, who dishonor the vices and bring them into bad repute. So now I see why I want to get rid of this money. I want to keep my mind free to do the credit to whiskey that it deserves. And my last words to you, ladies and gentlemen, is this: one vice at a time. Excuse me, can I speak to you for a minute?
Certainly you can. We would like to apologize to you about that scream. A little misunderstanding.
Yes, we're very sorry.
Don't mention it.
What's your name, sir?
Stack. Malachi Stack. Now, if you ladies will excuse me, I'd like to speak to you for a minute. Listen, boy. Have you lost... Come here. Have you lost something?
Mr. Stack, in this one day I've lost everything I own.
Here it is. Don't mention it.
Mr. Stack, do you know what this is? It's a miracle! Barnaby, come here a minute. I want you to shake hands with Mr. Stack. Mr. Stack's just found the purse I lost, you know? The purse full of money.
You're a wonderful man, Mr. Stack. Don't mention it.
I'm certainly glad I went to church all these years. You're a good person to know, Mr. Stack. In a way, Mr. Stack. Where do you work?
Well, I've just begun. I work for Mr. Vandergelder up in Yonkers.
You do? It's a miracle! No, Mr. Stack. You don't need it. Can I give you a little something for your good work?
Don't mention it. It's nothing.
Here. Take that.
Don't mention it.
And here. And that.
I'd better be going.
And here. And that.
No. I might get to like them.
Irene, I feel a lot better about everything now. Irene, I feel so good. I'm going to tell you the truth.
Oh me, I'd forgotten that men get drunk so differently from women. All right, what's the truth?
If I tell you the truth, will you Will you let me put my arm around your waist?
Hold your tongue, Minnie. All right, you can put your arm around my waist, just to show it can be done in a gentlemanly way. But I might as well warn you, a corset is a corset.
You're a wonderful person, Mrs. Malloy.
Oh, thank you. All right, that's enough. What's the truth?
Irene, I'm not as rich as Mrs. Levi said I was.
Not rich?
I almost never came to New York. And I'm not like she said I was. Bad. I think you should know that right this very minute, Mr. Vandergelder's on the other side of that screen.
Well, now, he's not going to ruin any evening of ours. So that's why we've been whispering. Let's forget all about Mr. Vandergelder and have another glass of wine. Come on, you know the tune.
Oh, but I don't know the words.
Good evening, Mr. Vandergelder.
Where's Miss Simple?
Mr. Vandergelder, I'll never trust a woman again as long as I live.
Well, what is it?
She ran off this afternoon and got married.
She did?
Married, Mr. Vandergelder, to a young boy of 50.
Well, she did.
Oh, I'm as disappointed as you are. I don't think I can eat a thing. And what have you ordered?
Well, I ordered what you told me to. A chicken.
I don't think I can face a chicken. Oh, waiter, how do you do? What's your name?
August, ma'am.
August, this is Mr. Vandergelder of Yonkers. Yonkers' most influential citizen, in fact. I want you to see that he served with the best you have and served promptly, and there'll only be 3 of us. 2.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Vandergelder's been through some trying experiences today, with men hidden all over Mrs. Malloy's hat shop like Indians in ambush.
Well, you don't have to tell him everything about me.
Mr. Vandergelder, if you're thinking about getting married again, you might as well learn right now you have to let women be women. Now, August, we'd like excellent service.
Yes, ma'am. You've managed things very badly. When I plan a thing, it takes place. Where are you going?
Oh, I'd just like to see who's on the other side of that screen.
Good evening, Mrs. Levi.
Well, who was it?
Oh, just some city stocks entertaining their girls, I guess.
Always wanting to know everything, always curious about everything, always putting your nose in other people's affairs. Anyone who lived with you would get as nervous as a cat.
What? What's that you're saying?
I said anyone who lived with you would get as
Horace Vandergelder! Put that idea right out of your head. I'm surprised you even mentioned such a thing. Understand once and for all, I have no intention of marrying you.
I didn't mean that.
You've been hinting around at such a thing for some time now, but from now on, put the idea right out of your head.
Stop talking that way. That's not what I meant at all.
I hope not. I should hope not. Horace Vandergelder, you go your way, and I'll go mine. I'm not some Irene Malloy whose head can be turned by a pot of geraniums. By the idea of you even suggesting such a thing.
Mrs. Levi, you misunderstood me.
I certainly hope I do. If I had any intention of getting married again, it would be to a far more pleasure-loving man than yourself. Why, I'd marry Cornelius Hackle before I'd marry you. However, we won't discuss it anymore. It is obviously not food. Thank you, August. There, here's some white meat for you and some giblets, very tender and very good for you. Now, as I said before, Horace, you go your way, and I'll go mine.
Stop saying that.
I won't say another word.
I'm not that bad.
However, since you brought the matter up, there's one more thing I think I ought to say.
I didn't bring the matter up at all.
Well, I've forgotten all about it in a moment, but sit down. Sit down! Well, I've closed the matter forever in just a moment, but before we do, there's one more thing I think I ought to say. It's true. I'm a woman who likes to know everything that's going on, who likes to manage things, but I wouldn't like to manage anything as out of control as your household, as disorderly, as untidy. You'll have to do that yourself. God help her, you know.
It's not out of control.
Very well, we won't say another word about it. Take some more of that squash, it's good. No, Horace. A complaining, quarrelsome, friendless soul like you is no sort of companion for me.
You go your way and I'll go mine.
Stop saying that!
I won't say another word.
Besides, I'm not any of those things you said I am.
What? Well, I guess you're friendless, aren't you? Ermengarde told me this morning you'd quarreled with your barber, a man who's held a razor to your throat for 20 years. Seems to me that's sinking pretty low.
Well, we had a little discussion, and I said, what my clerks think.
They like you? Cornelius hackled in that Barnaby behind your back. They call you Wolf Trap.
No, they don't.
No, Mr. Vandergelder, it looks to me as though I was the last person in the world that liked you, and either I'm just so-so. No, I intend to enjoy myself for the rest of my days. You can find yourself some housekeeper who can cook you 3 meals for $1 a day. It can be done if you like cold baked beans. You'll spend your last days listening at keyholes for fear someone's cheating you, but take some more of that.
Dolly, you're a damned exasperating woman.
There, you see? That's the difference between you and me. I'd be nagging you all day just to get some spirit into you. You could be a perfectly charming, witty, amiable man if you wanted to.
But I don't want to be charming.
Oh, let's look at you now. You are. You can't hide it.
Listen here, keyholes, Dolly, you have no right to say such things to me.
At your age, you ought to enjoy hearing the honest truth. You and I are too old to be talking nonsense to one another.
My age, you're always talking about my age.
At your, I don't know what your age is, but I do know that up in Yonkers, with bad food and a bad temper, you'll double it in 6 months. Now, let's not discuss it anymore. But before we leave the matter, there's one more thing I am going to say.
Don't!
Sometimes, just sometimes, I think I might be tempted to marry you out of sheer pity. And if the confusion in your household gets any worse, I may have to.
But I haven't asked you to marry me.
Well, please don't!
Why, my house is not in confusion.
With your niece upstairs in this restaurant right now.
Well, I fixed that better than you know.
And your clerks skipping around New York behind your back.
They're in Yonkers, where they always are.
Nonsense!
What do you mean, nonsense?
Cornelius Hackle's on the other side of that screen this very minute!
It ain't the same man.
All right. Go on, push it down.
I don't believe it for a second.
All right, Horace, eat your chicken. Of course, your affairs went from bad to worse and you became actually miserable. I might feel it was my duty to come up to Yonkers and be of some assistance to you. After all, I was your wife's oldest friend.
I don't know where you ever got such a notion. Now understand, once and for all, I have no intention of marrying anybody. Now I'm tired and I don't want to talk.
I won't say another word either.
Irene, I think we better go. You take this and pay the bill. Oh, don't worry, it's not mine.
No, I'll tell you what we'll do. You boys put on our coats and veils and become stamping over here. I think you're girls.
What? Those things?
Yes, come on.
I've got a headache. I've had a bad day. I'm going to Flora Van Heusen's and then I'm going back to my hotel. So here's the money to pay for dinner. Well, here's the... I've lost my purse!
That's impossible. I can't imagine you without your purse.
It's been stolen. I left it in the cab. What am I going to do? I'm new at the hotel. They don't know me yet. I haven't been here before. Stop eating that. I can't pay for it.
Oh, Horace, sit down and calm yourself. I'll find some way to pay for you.
Dolly Gallagher, I gave you $25 this morning.
I haven't a cent. I gave it all to my lawyer. We'll borrow it from Ambrose Kemper upstairs.
I wouldn't take it.
Then we'll borrow it from Cornelius Hackle.
He's in Yonkers.
Why, listen to that music. I can teach you how to dance in a minute, Cornelius.
Irene, doesn't Barnaby make a lovely girl? I think he ought to stay that way. Oh, Barnaby, let's dance.
Horace, listen to that music. Now you dance with me at my wedding and you dance with me at yours, you remember?
No. Yes.
Horace, you're a good dancer and don't you trust me now that you're too old to dance.
I'm not too old. I just don't want to dance.
Listen to that music.
You're discharged! None of the word! You're fired! You're getting Barnaby Tucker! You're discharged! You're discharged! Oh!
disappointment, illusion. Our plans, our hope, what become of them? Nothing. Story of my life.
Pray to God nothing happened to the dear girl. Is it a long journey from Yonkers?
No, but long enough for 1,000 things to happen.
Well, we've been waiting all day. Don't you think we ought to call the police about it?
The police? If it's God's will, the police can't prevent it. Oh, in 3 days, in a week, in a year, we'll know what's happened. And if anything really terrible has happened to Ermengarde, it'll be a lesson to him, that's what it'll be.
To who?
To that cruel uncle of hers, of course. To Horace Vandergelder. And to anyone else who tries to separate young lovers. Young lovers have enough to contend with as it is. Who should know that better than I? No one. Story of my life. There. Now we're here, Cap, quick!
No, ma'am. I don't see anything.
There. What did I tell you? Everything's imagination. Illusion.
But surely if they changed their plans, Mr. Vandergelder would have sent you a message.
Oh, I know what's the matter. That poor child probably thought she was coming to another prison, to another tyrant. If she had known that I was her friend and a friend of all young lovers, she would be here by now. Oh yes, she would. Her life should not be crossed with obstacles and disappointments as... Cook, a minute ago my smelling salts were on this couch and I'd have completely disappeared.
Why, there they are, ma'am, right there in your hand.
Goodness! How did they get there? I won't inquire. Stranger things have happened.
I suppose Mr. Vandergelder was sending her down with someone?
Two can go astray as easily as...
Oh, God bless you. Now, here's the carriage stopping.
Well, open the door, Cook. It's probably... God bless you. It almost sounds as though I heard voices.
I want to go into the country, I tell you.
And you don't. We have orders.
Pardon me, ma'am. Are you Miss Van Houston?
Yes, I am, unfortunately. What's all this noise?
There are two people here that Mr. Vandergelder says must be brought here and kept here until he comes. And here's his letter to you.
No one has any right to tell me whom I'm to keep in my house if they don't wish to stay.
That's right, ma'am. Everyone's always talking about people breaking into houses, but there are more people wanting to break out of houses. That's what I always say. Bring them in, Joe!
Stop! This young lady and I have no business here. Jumped into a cab and asked to be driven to the station. These men brought us to the house and forced us inside. There's been a mistake.
Is your name Miss Van Heusen?
Everybody's asking if my name's Miss Van Heusen. I think that's a matter I can decide for myself. Now, will you all be quiet while I read this letter? This is Ermengarde and that rascal Ambrose Kemper. Now I know who you two are, anyway. They are trying to run away. Story of my life. Mr. Kemper, you have nothing to fear. Who are you?
Well, I'm Joe. I stay here until the old man comes. He owes me $15.
That's right, Miss Van Heusen. We must stay here to see that they don't escape.
My dear child, take off your things. Well, I'll go into the kitchen and have some coffee. You two go out and wait in the hall. I'll send coffee out to you. Cook! Take them.
Ma'am, we're not the people you're expecting, and there's no
Mr.
reason for...
Kemper, I'm not the tyrant.
But
you
that's
think
not
I
a
am.
girl.
You
I
don't
don't-
have to be
you don't
afraid
understand.
of me.
I said-
I know you're trying to run away with this innocent girl.
Dicky Bird!
Oh, get off! All my life I have suffered from the interferences of others. But you shall not suffer as I did. So, put yourself entirely in my hands. Ermengarde, where's your luggage?
Oh, it's,
I'll find it in the morning. It's been mislaid.
Mislaid?
I know I wouldn't be comfortable.
She's a shy little thing, isn't she? Timid little darling. God! Yes, ma'am. Go put some gingerbread in the oven and get the coffee ready. Yes, ma'am. Well, I will prepare a good hot bath for Ermengarde.
Oh, Miss Van Houston!
Believe me, Ermengarde, your troubles are at its end. You two will be married tomorrow. My dear, you look just like I did at your age. And your struggles have been as mine. While you're bathing, I'll come in and tell you the story of my life.
Oh, but I don't want to take a bath. I always catch cold.
No, dear, you won't catch cold. I'll slap you all over. I'll be back in a minute.
Barnaby, think we could jump down from this window?
Yes, we'd kill ourselves.
Well, we'll have to wait here and watch for something to happen. Barnaby, the situation's desperate.
It's been getting desperate ever since about 4:30, and it's been getting worse ever since. Now I have to take a bath and get slapped all over.
You still got those wet things on. Your bath is nearly ready. Mr. Camper, you come into the kitchen and put your feet in the oven. What was that? It's the doorbell. I expect it's your uncle. Here's the doorbell. It's another man and a girl in a gown. Well, let them be cook. Now, you two come with me.
Oh, but I don't want to take a bath. I had one last Saturday.
Possible. Come in anyway. There's some mistake. I'll tell Miss Van Houston, but there's some mistake.
But I tell you, I am Mr. Vandergelder's niece. I'm Ermengarde.
Beg your pardon, miss, but you can't be Miss Ermengarde.
But here I am, and that's my baggage.
What do you do? I'll tell Miss Van Houston who you think you are. She won't like it.
You'll be safe here, Ermengarde. I better go before she sees me.
Ambrose, you must stay.
I know, but Mr. Vandergelder will be here in a minute.
Oh, Ambrose, you can't go.
Ambrose, you can't go!
Oh, Ambrose, you can't leave me in this crazy house with these drunken men in this hall. Ambrose, let's say you're somebody else. Let's say you're someone my uncle sent down to take care of me. Let's say you're Cornelius Hackle.
Who's Cornelius Hackle?
Oh, you know, he's chief clerk in my uncle's store.
I don't want to be Cornelius Hackle. No. Ermengarde, come away with me now. I'll take you to a friend's house, or I'll take you to Mrs. Levi's house.
Why, it was Miss Levi who threw us right into Uncle Horace's face. Oh, I wish I were back in Yonkers where nothing ever happens.
What was I? I thought I told you two to wait in the hall. Who do you say you are?
Aunt Flora, don't you remember me? I'm Ermengarde.
And you're Mr. Vandergelder's niece.
Yes, I am.
He's just sent me another niece named Ermengarde.
But he doesn't have
And who's this?
This is Mr. Hackle, Aunt Flora.
Never heard of him.
He's chief clerk in my uncle's store.
Never heard of him. The other Ermengarde came with the man she's in love with. And that proves it. She came with Mr. Ambrose Kemper.
Ambrose Kemper?
Yes, Mr. Hackle. And Mr. Ambrose Kemper was... Dear child, what is your trouble?
Why, nobody's anybody anymore.
Are you in love with this man?
Yes, I am.
I could see it. And are people trying to separate you?
Yes, they are.
I could see it. Who? Horace Vandergelder.
Yes?
Mr. Hackle, think of me as your friend. Now, we'll all go to the kitchen and have some coffee. We can decide later who everybody is. My dear, would you like a good hot bath?
Why, yes, I would.
Well, when Ermengarde comes out, you can go in.
Oh, Miss Van Houston. Houston.
Why, Mr. Kemper. Mr. Kemper, this is Cornelius Hackle. Mr. Hackle, this is Mr. Ambrose Kemper. Perhaps you two know each other?
No.
No, we don't.
Miss Van Houston, I know this man not to be Ambrose Kemper.
And he's not Cornelius Hackle.
My dear young man, what does it matter what your names are? The important thing is that you are you. You're alive and breathing, aren't you, Mr. Hackle?
Ouch, Miss Van Houston.
This dear child imagines she's Horace Vandergelder's niece Ermengarde.
But I am!
The important thing is that you're all in love. Everything else is illusion.
Miss Van Houston.
Everybody's asking if I'm Miss Van Houston. Now, you two gentlemen sit down and have a nice chat while this dear child has a good hot bath. Here's the doorbell again. Well, answer it. The cab with 3 ladies? I never saw such a night. You two gentlemen can rest easy. I'll see that Mr. Vandergelder lets his nieces marry you both.
Flora, how are you?
Tom Gallagher. What brings you here?
Good heavens, Flora, what are these two drunken men doing in your home?
I don't know. Horace Vandergelder sent it to me.
Well, I've watched from 2 girls in much the same condition. Otherwise, they're the finest girls in the world. Huh? Whew. I'd like you to meet Irene Malloy.
Delighted to know you.
And this is Miss Red. Oh, I see you two gentlemen up here too. Mr. Hackle, I was just about to look for you anywhere here.
No, Mrs. Levi. I'm ready to face anything now.
Well, good. Mr. Vandergelder will be up in a moment. He's trying to pay for a cab without any money.
Oh, I'll help him with that.
Oh, yes, will you, dear? You had to pay for dinner, too. You must have hundreds of dollars in there, it seems.
Well, this is his own purse that he lost. I can't give it back to him.
I'll give it back to
Oh, I
you.
told you, you fool. I'm Mr. Vandergelder of Yonkers. I'm a very rich man. I'll pay you later. I lost my purse.
Hello, Mr. Vandergelder. How are you?
$15, Mr. Vandergelder.
You're discharged. You too. So I caught up with you at last. You're discharged. I never want to see you again. Get out of the house, both of you.
Now then, you stop ordering people out of my house. You can shout and carry out in Yonkers, but when you're in my house, you'll behave yourself.
But they're both dishonest scoundrels.
Take your hat off. You two gentlemen stay right where you are.
Mr. Vandergelder, I can explain.
There aren't going to be any explanations. Horace, stop scowling at Mr. Kemper and forgive him.
That's not Kemper. That's a dishonest rogue named Cornelius Hackle.
You're crazy. That's Cornelius Hackle.
Well, I guess I know my own chief clerk.
I don't care what their names are. You shake hands with them both or out you go.
Shake hands with those dogs and scoundrels.
Mr. Vandergelder, you've had a hard day. You don't want to go out in the rain now. Just for form's sake, shake hands with them. You can go back to quarreling again tomorrow.
There, don't regard that as a handshake. Hey, I never want to see you again.
Don't pull!
Miss Houston! Yes, dear.
Do I smell coffee?
Yes, dear.
Or can I have some good and black?
Come along, everybody. We'll all go into the kitchen and have some coffee. Horace, you'll be interested to know there are 2 Ermengardes in there.
Ephraim Levi, I'm going to get married again. Ephraim, I'm marrying Horace Vandergelder for his money. I'm going to take his money and send it out doing all the things you taught me. Oh, it won't be a marriage in the sense that we had one, but I shall certainly make him happy. And Ephraim, I'm tired. I'm tired of living from hand to mouth, and I'm asking your permission now, Ephraim. Will you give me away?
Money, 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 money. It's like the sun we walk under. It can kill and it can cure. Horace Vandergelder's never tired of saying that most of the people in this world are fools. But in a way, he's right, isn't he? Irene, Cornelius, himself, myself. But there comes a moment in every man's life when he must decide whether he'll live among human beings or not. A fool among fools or a fool alone. I, myself, have decided to live among them. But I wasn't always so. When my husband died, I retired into myself. Yes, in the evenings I'd put out the cat and I'd lock the door and I'd make myself a little rum toddy, and at the end of the night I'd say a little prayer thanking God that I was independent. Then no one else's life was mixed up with mine. And when 10 o'clock sounded from Trinity Church Tower, I fell off to sleep and I was a perfectly contented woman. But then one night, after about 2 years of this, an oak leaf fell out of my Bible. I placed it there on the day my husband had asked me to marry him. It was a perfectly good oak leaf, but without color and without life. And suddenly, I realized that for a long time I had not shed one tear, nor had I been for one moment outrageously happy, or even filled with the wonderful hope that something or other would turn out well. I realized that I was like that oak leaf. And on that night, I decided to rejoin the human race. On that night, I heard many hours struck off from Trinity Church Tower. Now, you and I have known lots of people who've decided, like Horace Vandergelder and like myself for some time, not to live among human beings. Yes, they move out among them, they talk to them, they even get married to them, but at heart, they have decided to have nothing to do with the human race. If you accept human beings and are willing to live among them, you acknowledge that every man has the right to his own mistakes. Yes, we're all fools, and we're all in great danger of creating a good deal of havoc in the world with our folly, but the one way we can keep ourselves from harm is to fill our lives with the 4 or 5 simple human pleasures which are our right, and that takes a little money. Not much, but a little. The difference between a little money and no money at all is enormous and can shatter the world. And the difference between a little money and an enormous amount of money is very slight, but that also can shatter the world. Money, pardon my expression, money is like manure. It's not worth a thing unless it's being spread around, encouraging young things to grow. Anyways, that is the opinion of the second Mrs. Horace Vandergelder.
Miss Van Heusen asked me to bring you this.
Oh, thank you both. Sit down and rest yourself, won't you?
No, thank you. I'm not tired.
Well, what's been going on in the kitchen?
Oh, a lot of foolishness. Everybody's falling in love with everybody. Oh, and I forgave him. Ermengarde, that artist.
Oh, I knew you would. Oh, here, too.
Oh, thank you. Well, and I made Cornelius Hackle my partner.
You won't regret it.
Dolly, you said some mighty unpleasant things to me in the restaurant tonight. All that about my house and everything.
Let's not say another word about it.
Dolly, you have a lot of faults.
I know what you mean.
You're bossy, you're scheming, you're inquisitive, you're...
Go on.
But Dolly, you're a wonderful woman. Marry me.
Horace! Stop right there.
I know I've been a fool about Mrs. Malloy and that other woman, but Dolly, forgive me and marry me.
Horace, I don't dare. No, I don't dare.
What do you mean?
Horace, you know as well as I do that you're the first citizen of Yonkers. Naturally, you expect your wife to keep an open house, to have scores of friends coming in and out all the time. Any wife of yours should be used to that kind of thing.
Dolly, you can live any way you like.
Horace, you can't deny it. Any wife of yours would have to be a somebody. Answer me, am I somebody?
You are. You're a wonderful woman.
You're partial! Horace, it wouldn't be enough for you to load your wife with money and jewels and to insist that she be a benefactress to half the city. Horace, do you really think I have it in me to be a credit to you?
Dolly, everybody knows you could do anything you wanted to.
I'll try. With your help, I'll try. Oh, by the way, I found your purse.
Where did you... A wonderful woman!
Walked right into my hands, Horace. I don't know how I do it. Sometimes I frighten myself. But Take it, Horace. Money walks out of my hands, too.
Keep it. Keep it.
Horace, I never thought I'd ever hear you say a thing like that.
Oh, excuse me, I didn't know anyone was in here.
Didn't know anyone was in here! Idiot!
Come in, Barnaby, come in.
Come in, Barnaby, come in.
Cornelius is going to marry Mrs. Malloy.
Oh, isn't that wonderful, Horace?
Barnaby, go in and tell the rest of them that Mrs. Levi has consented.
Finally consented.
Finally consented to become my wife.
Holy cabooses! Hey everyone, look, Mr. Vandergelder is going to marry Mrs. Levi.
Dolly, that's the best news I ever heard. There isn't any more coffee. There isn't any more gingerbread. But there are 3 couples in my house, and they're all going to get married. And do you know, one of those Ermengardes wasn't a little girl at all. She was a boy. Well, that's what life is. Disappointment. Illusion.
There isn't any more coffee, there isn't any more gingerbread, and there isn't any more clay. But there's one more thing we have to do. Barnaby, come here. I think the youngest person here ought to tell us what the moral of the play is.
I think it's about adventure. The test of an adventure is that when you're in the middle of it, you say to yourself, oh, now I've got myself into an awful mess. I wish I were sitting quietly at home. And the sign that something's wrong with you is when you're sitting quietly at home, wishing you were out having lots of adventures. So that now, we all want to thank you for coming tonight, and we all hope that in your lives, you have just the right amount of sitting quietly at home, and just the right amount of adventure. Good night.